Hello everybody, this is ZJ here. In today's video I'm gonna show you how I made this video. Especially we're gonna talk about how to use Cinema 4D's native and new physics simulation system, and this is what we're going to create. You can see the ball, the apples falling and hitting the ball and expanding like a balloon and then float up. So I'm gonna show you all the way till the end. So let's go. All right. So here's a brand new scene, and just to get started, I like to talk about what is the simulation system that I talked before. So let's start by adding a sphere and a ground for it to collide on, and let's move this up. Let's scale this way up. If you hold down Command while you're entering the prompt like this, it will update both the parameters at the same time. All right, so now if we hit play, as you know, nothing's going to happen. But if you add a tag of simulation tag, you can do it right click or go to tag, and you will see a bullet tag. This is the old simulation system, and we're not going to talk about it today. This is deprecated, and I do not recommend anyone to use this. Basically, it is very slow. That's the main thing that I want to use simulation tag. So let's lock it here and select the sphere, and we want it to be soft body. Okay, first thing you see is this kind of thing. This is in soft body tag when there is draw on when selected or always. If you don't want to see it, you can toggle it off. But this is going to be very helpful when you're debugging. But for now, let's just toggle it off and see the default effect. Okay, bouncing ball. Now you get a very basic bouncing ball animation. So something to be noticed here is that if we hit NB to toggle on the wireframe mode, this ball, this sphere is having a kind of a bad geometry, bad topology for simulation purpose. So this is what I'm talking about. If I control and duplicate it and change this to an icosahedron, this is very evenly distributed triangle surface. So let's see what the difference is going to be. I'm toggling both of the soft body and make it very soft, maybe 500. I'm not sure if that's enough. And let's see. It's still not enough. Okay, so one more thing is that when you see all these lines, they are kind of like the structure lines in between the geometry. You can add more of them here, and you can also make it less. So let's say that you still want less than this kind of geometry, because when it's bouncing, it's retaining the shape of the geometry, right? But what if you just want very soft, kind of like deflating effect? You can use the density here. You can just toggle it really, really low. Let's say try 50, and then the softness is really up. Let's see what it does. Still not doing anything. So I'll go crazy and just 10 times the softness and say way less geometry. Okay. Well, there's still some parameters you can toggle. Like in the surface tab, you can toggle the stretchiness. Let's just say 50. And now you can have a very stretching surface. And now is the time where you can see the problem. If we change back to no wireframe, then you will see the problem. If you only have a ball, a perfect spherical geometry, and it's deflating, you won't see this kind of dimple on its top, right? You would see a very smooth out geometry here. But this is given a dimple. Why? Because of its topology. It has a I would say a bad topology for physics simulation purpose. You want to have, for simulations, you want to have an evenly distributed geometry surface. So for example, this one is pretty good because the triangles are very evenly distributed throughout the surface, whereas you can see here, this is very dense point, so it's going to be calculated differently than say here. These are kind of okay geometry. They are kind of stretched out evenly, but this is very dense. So whenever you have a dense topology, you will be facing some of the issues like this dimple. All right, so I just want you to remember that, and we can keep going. This is very rudimentary soft body. So let's delete them, and let's talk about what we're going to create today. So just so you know, this is the full scene file that you can download. Just go to the link in the description or the info actually. And here's the final animation. And you see how I have kind of evenly distributed apple, but I want the dimple on the top, so I made it in. And that's basically it. Just a bunch of cloners of apple. It's here, and then it fall down, collide with this soup bowl. All of those geometries are available in your Cinema 4D's asset browser, which I'm going to show you right now. Okay, that's enough. Let's go back to our file and let's do it. So first, we want to search for apple. Just this is good enough. Double click it to add it to the file. And here is another problem that you will see later on. So for example, if we add a sphere, see how big it is. And our apple is really, really small. It's actually not really small. It's just that the sphere is too big. If you see here, the radius is 1 meter. It's really, really huge. But the apple is real world size apple. And this is going to be a problem, especially, let me just show you. So first, before I show you, I want to have the ball inside, and I can't remember which one I use. I think it's this one. Yep. So you can see they are real world size geometry. It's going to be a problem. So I don't want to see the texture right now, so I can hit NQ to disable the texture. And let's just focus on the apple first. So if I mouse middle click, I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to isolate it. And you can see in the apple group, it has several geometries. It has the apple. It has, let me just disable this. It has the apple. It has a very, very small geometry. We're not going to be looking at it now, so I'm just going to delete it. And you have a stem. Now this is going to be interesting. So first, let me toggle on the wire view and have a soft body, have a subdivision surface, and I'm just going to collapse this into a real geometry. And then you can see the stem is really, really dense. So for now, if we're just starting to learn soft body geometry, soft body dynamics, I'm just going to recommend you to delete this. It's going to cause you some problems later on. So here is our apple. And you can see this is kind of the dimple that I told you about. And to fix this, I have a very simple way. You can just select it and then find a remesh here. And if you hold on Option or Alt and release your mouse, it's gonna make the apple, whatever you selected, a child of this remesh. And for the remesh, let's say we want maybe 80% of the geometry. It's okay. It could be better. Let's say 60. So the less mesh you have, the easier the simulation will be. So depending on your computer's spec, you can choose to go to 100 or lower. But I have a pretty beefy Mac, so I'm just gonna leave it at 100. I only want a remesh surface. So let's say this is it. I'm gonna change the shading to detect, and then I'm quite happy with this. I'm just gonna hit C to make it a real instance, and that's it. This is okay to start simulating. And then let's exit out the isolation. And this apple is a little bit too big, but let's let's see it in action first. So again, remember, do not use the bullet tag, use the simulation tag. Give it a collider and give it a soft body. I'm gonna just clean this up and pull it up. Whoop, why is it not letting me? Pull it up and then give it a simulation soft body because we're not in the frame first. So go to the first frame and then hit play. You see that it fell down and it's having a little bit poke through geometry. Now there are several ways to fix this, but first thing first is that you need to remember to change the physics simulations tab. So you can go there by hitting Command D or Control D. You can go to the project setting and then you see the simulation setting. And if you are using the bullet simulation, then you go to the bullet simulation. But what's good for simulation, the new simulation, is that if you go to scene, you can have device as GPU to compute the simulation. It's going to be way faster, trust me. And you can see the scene scale. So as I said before, the apple and the bowl, they're all in real world scale, so they're not 100 centimeter. I want the scene to be in 1 centimeter. And then let's see that in action. It's still having a little bit poke through because the bowl has too thin geometry. Its wall is really, really thin. So usually what I like to do is actually just have a new group, put everything inside, and then scale it up, way up. I think in my last file that I showed you, I scale it up to 15 times. So now, even if we don't do anything, just hit refresh on the soft body to create those lines. And then you can see a huge difference. Why? Because in physics simulations, size does matter. The real world scale or a different scale, the size actually matters. So this is bouncy and it's quite okay. And if you have more trouble, just hit Command D or go to mode and then scene. And you can change. Oh, by the way, you can see the gravity here. So if you have a very real world scenario, then the default gravity should work. But if you are having trouble with it, you can always toggle the gravity yourself. So you can say it's 0 gravity and look what happened. Nothing is going to happen because there's no force acting upon it. But just see how beautiful this is, the subtle moving up and down. This is kind of like it's in an apple in space, right? And you can also say it's not negative, it's positive, and it's just gonna go up. Like the gravity is going upwards, not like downwards. But enough playing with this. I'm just gonna choose the default one. All right, so now we've talked about how to set up simulation, what to watch for, especially the mesh topology, and also how to change your scene settings. I want to talk about how you can actually change your simulation steps. So here, right next to the scene, you have a simulation in a simulation, and then you have substeps, iterations, smoothing, iteration, dumping. Those can be changed to have better or worse performance, and usually the default one should be good enough. But just in case, if you have any problem, like the apple is moving way too fast and it's just passing through the bowl, you can go to the scene and then change the substeps to be a little bit higher, maybe no more than 25 should be good to go. And the iteration, just be merciful with it because it's going to be a multiplier of your substeps. So the more you have, the quadruple the amount of calculation will be. And if your soft surface is moving way too fast or way too jiggly, you can turn on the damping. But I'm just going to leave it as default. And then for collision, you can always turn on the passes and then an extra iteration. And for the end frame pass, sometimes it helps solve some tricky situations like what you just saw, the apple passing through the ball. But I'm just gonna leave it as is for now because I'm happy with the result that I'm getting. Okay, so let's start building the scene. All right. So if we want to build the scene, we first have to, well, you know what? Let's build the complete scene first. So I want this apple to be a little bit smaller. Let's say, yeah, let's say that's the right size. And I want to have more apple. So I'm just going to hold down Option and put it under a cloner and have the cloner to be like this. And the apple is still a little bit too big. So we're gonna scale it down a little bit. And I want to have it less uniformed. So what I'm gonna do is select the cloner, go here, and then say random effector. So for random effector, I'm gonna play with the parameter, move it up and down a bit, and then have it rotate a bit. Just random rotation is fine. And then have the scale, uniform scale, and then I want to make it absolute. So only scale it down like this. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna move it up a bit. And now you can see some apples are piercing through each other. This is a no-no. So for the latest version of Cinema 4D, it's gonna be smart enough to know that it's having an intersection and it's gonna try to pull it out. But usually what you want to do is, you know what, actually, let me show you. So for now, we have the apple source geometry to have the soft body, and the cloner has no tag. And this is not going to do. Nothing will happen. So what you want to do is actually tell the cloner that, hey, you are a soft body. And if you just do it, it's going to have some bug. Like, yeah, it's actually pretty good. Cinema 4D is smarter than I thought it would be. So usually if you see something weird, go into your soft body tag, soft body, and just hit refresh button, and you will see all these structure lines. So then it would be a little bit better. And I go to first frame, and I just want my cloner to be a little bit shorter. Yeah, sometimes when you have the soft body tag on, it's not gonna let you adjust it. So I would just move it over and then adjust the positions a bit, then move it back and hit refresh. So in case you want to solve the intersecting part yourself, you can always hit cloner and go here and say push apart. So we don't want that big of a push apart. You can just say push it maybe 5 centimeters away from each other, or yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think that's good. And let's have it scale even more drastically. And we can have more apple. Why not? For the sake of it, let's make it 4. Okay. Now that's a lot of apples. And now if we hit play, it's gonna be a little bit slow because you're calculating a lot of geometries. And wow, we just have an apple falling through. Yeah, it fell off. So maybe not that much. And you can hit Shift F to go to the first frame, and then F8 to play the simulation. And yeah, it's having too big of a shape morph, which I don't like it. So I'm just gonna say you don't. Ooh, the stretchiness is 0 already. Okay, maybe reduce the softness a bit, and let's play it. It's still deforming a bit too much for my liking. So I'm gonna say you can only have a softness of 5. Now you can play around with the setting yourself because these settings are not terminative. It's also determined by how dense your mesh is gonna be. So let's make their mass a bit stronger and have a friction of 1. And let's turn down the bounciness a little bit. Okay, now we're talking. All right, so here is, we have done a wonderful job. that we have the cloner of apples and let them fall down and correctly hit the ball and have a squash animation, and now they're resting. Now we should go ahead and do the blowing up section. All right, so now that we're talking about glowing it up, we have to manually keyframe those animations. Or you can use the balloon tab. But usually I would like to keyframe them myself because I have more control. But let's just show you what this is. So I click on the balloon, overpressure a little bit too much, and they have an expansion time so that during the 30 frame, it will have gradually overpressure itself. Let's just see what it does. Okay, you can see that not too much actually. So maybe have a bit of stretchiness and then bendiness a little bit. Oops. So when you have a wrinkled surface, it might be the bendiness is too much. So just lower it down and have it, you know what, maybe 50. Still not doing much. That's why I don't really like it. Because the control is not too much. So turn off the balloon and have a mix animation. So in my previous video, I have shown you how to use the bullet simulation, which at that time was the only simulation, how to make your soft body simulation follow your animation. It's very simple. In the mix animation tab, you want to click on this follow shape. And that's not all. You have to actually change the shape for it to follow, which makes sense, right? So for the random, I want it to have an absolute scale scaling up. So maybe let's say at, let's just see the animation first. So at around 30 to maybe 60, let's say. Let's first make it a bit longer, and then I'm gonna say at frame 60, the scale is going to be at this, and then at frame 90, let's just make it a bit stronger. And you can toggle on the auto key so that whenever you make a change, it will keyframe it for you. Let's go to 1.1 just to test it. And now as it's resting, it's gonna glow up and up and up, and beautiful, beautiful. I like it. So you see how the apple is, the apples are growing up, but also retaining the soft body collision with each other and also the bowl itself. This is all thanks to the mix animation follow shape, so that when we are keyframing its shape change, it's also trying to calculate the right collision setting. So yeah, we have our animation done. And now for the last step, we want it to glow up, and then let's just play the animation. So right now it's falling down, it's resting, and then it's glowing up, but it is still falling down. We want it to go up in the sky, like balloons going up. So there are several ways we can do this. We can use wind, we can use gravity, we can use a tractor. For now, I'm just going to say, let's use wind. I used gravity, I think, in this one, but let's just try a different way. Okay, so here you can go to the simulate forces, and let me just adjust the size of it. Okay, so this is what you get for all the simulation forces. So you can see gravity and field force, a tractor, wind, they can all do the job. Let's use the gravity first because it's very easy. So the gravity is going to be downwards for this amount, right? But remember, if you hit Control D, you already have a gravity downward. So what we can do is in this scene gravity, we can change it to 0. And then we have a dedicated gravity to change the force. And let's just hit play. It's still the same thing because we have a corresponding, we basically substitute the scene setting with this object. All right, so what we can do is if we go to, let's say 90, keyframe this acceleration, and then go to 120, make it a negative force. So now let's just move it up. So now what we have is the gravity is gonna change to going up. Yeah. So now this is an easy way to do this animation, and we are done. So if you want to stick around, I'm gonna show you how I can make the, where is my force? Let's use the wind for now. So turn off the gravity, and let's go back and add the gravity here. I think it's 980 just to test it. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Okay, so for the wind, we can say it's an acceleration, and let's just turn it up and rotate it, because you can see the direction is moving towards the positive Z action. We want it to be upwards. And let's say the wind speed should be 0 up until 60, and then the wind speed should be very high. This is based on my personal experiment that I did before. Let's just do very high and have a little bit turbulence. Let's see what it gets. So it's down, it's gonna glow up, and the wind is blowing. Yeah, you can see. It still does the job, right? And what's better is that for the wind, we have this turbulence, and if we just crank it up and see what it's gonna do, wait for it. It has this very turbulent kind of thing. See how the apple is kind of floating randomly. This is all because of the turbulence. I'm just gonna put it downward a bit, and now you have it. Now you have it. All right. So for the last thing, we are going to render it out. I'm gonna show you how I set up the animation, how I set up the materials, and how I set up the whole scene to render it. All right, let's go. All right. So here is the final part. Congratulations on finishing and staying here. And let's first hide all these, and let's get a little bit organized. So I want to have a null for apple. Actually, just scene to put all of them in. And if you're using 2025, you have a new object. This is a backdrop object. You can make this and just tell it to have very wide width and a little bit higher height, and the depth should be, yeah, just make it extension. Yep, I think that's good. And the rounding, let's make it go above it, and then create a camera. So now I am using Redshift. You can use Octane or whatever renderer you like. And let's go into our camera, and I want to have sort of a plane or just observing aspect. You can do whatever you want. This is your artistic choice. I just like the composition of kind of like this. So first I want to change the perspective to something a bit long, maybe 20, very long lens. And if you want some composition help, you can go to the display and say maybe grid or diagonal, whatever you like. All right, this is your artistic choice. So Corsair, I just want a third grid, and I want to make sure that I tile this up, because remember, if you scrub through, it's not gonna show you anything. So now what we want to do is actually to cache the simulation so that it's kind of like an animation. We can just scrub through and see the time, because you see this is not very helpful for anything. So first let's cache the scene actually. All right, so going to your soft body simulation, and you can see the cache, and let's just cache the whole scene. Wait for it to be done, and you should be good to go. That's Big Apple, a really big apple. Okay, now if you scrub through, see how easy it is. I'm just gonna stop the animation at 140 and voila, you have the whole scene set up and now ready to render. So for me, I'm just gonna put it very simple HDRI here. Just use the maximum built-in ones. I remember correctly, if I think I'm using some sort of photo studio HDRI lighting. And now you can just toggle it on like this. Not good, right? Okay, maybe even brighter, I guess. Nah, it's not helping. So what you can also do is give the backdrop a little bit of geometry. So what I want to do is search for maybe plaster and see what I have available. Let me just stop the redshift and find, come on, plaster or concrete, doesn't matter. I want something beige color, but this is only maximum one, so I cannot use it. Which one did I use for this? That might be good. You know what? I'm just gonna copy and paste the backdrop. It's a plaster. I knew it. And then to here and toggle on the NQ to see the materials. And let's actually play with it. So in the final scene, you can see that for my apple, I have different colors. Now I'm gonna teach you how to make different colors for cloners. All right. So because now all you can see is one single material, which is the apple thin. It's not good. It doesn't look good. So what I'm gonna do is open it up and just turn it around. So what we can do is we have a random effector and see here is a color under the parameter. We can use random color, so just the effector color. And if you want to see it in your viewport, just hit NQ again, and now you see the colors. But if you want more control, you can select the fields color, and then go into your fields and play with a random field. It's here. And then let it to change the color. And in your random field, you can have a color ramp, say gradient, and then you can control the color ramp with your own colors, basically. So I want to choose something green, and then some red apple, then just squash it in between. I don't want too many orange apple. I think that's just for the purpose of demo. I think that's it. That is okay. So now how you want to get it is hit C and search for color user data, and then just go to attribute name MoGraph color. Let's just see this in action. So let me get a redshift render view here, and I want it to fit window. Okay, good. Now you get all the colors. Now it's your choice. You can do whatever you want. So what I'm gonna do is have a color layer to change my apple colors here. Actually, I want it to, oops. I want it to be the base of my color and then only add my apple color later on. So if you solo this, this is gonna be maybe an overlay, maybe screen, maybe something else. I don't know. You can play around with it. Let's just try this difference and unsolo it. Yeah, it's not my thing. Maybe an overlay. Looks quite bad. Okay, and I have a ramp for controlling the roughness. Maybe I don't want that kind of shiny thing, so I'm gonna say the minimum of roughness is gonna be that, and the maximum is this. So a little bit rougher. And then for my bump map, I would want to have a bit stronger bump. Let's sim the simulation again, because when I add the random field, it only gonna mess up the whole simulation. So now I'm gonna say go to soft body tag, go to cache, clear object or scene cache, and then cache it again. Boop. Let's wait for it. Up, 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 up. All right. So let's go here, and then where's my Redshift render view? Okay, I gotcha. So right now we don't have any dome light. That's why we don't have the Redshift geometry, the HDRI. So go to light, dome light, add it in, and then use this one. It's in asset database, so it should be good to go. And it's HDRI Light Studio 5. I'm not sure if I downloaded it. That's why. If I hide the backdrop and just put it on my dome light, finally, some bug. Okay. So now we have this very bright environment. I actually want it to be a little bit lower, just so that I can see my apples. Okay. So let's continue with the apples. Let's go find my, where's my apple? So now if I want to have it maybe an ad or something else, or maybe change it to this. You can use a scroll wheel to scroll through all this, like that, better. Okay, so you can see, I don't know if you can see that, it's having some kind of a bump. So let's blow it up. I hope you can see the bumps here. So those bumps, I think they should be going inwards, not outwards, or maybe outwards. I'm not sure, but I would like to see an inwards one. So go into your bump map and just say that the scale is negative. It's gonna go inside, which I think is a little bit better. And then that's probably too much, so I'm gonna say -3. Excuse me. So about this one, and here is one more thing. So we only have the apple shader, which means that if I scale it down and see the animation, you should be seeing apples drop in and then blowing up, and then they float away. There's no change in the material whatsoever. So I actually want to have a separate material. So put these aside, group it, and say this is apple shader. And I want to have a new one called, let me resize it so that we can all see. Window. All right. So the new one I'm talking about is going to be a very simple one. It's just gonna be a transparent material. Like if I solo this, it's gonna be transparent, but I want the color to be inside of this. So go to transmission, color. Okay, this is probably too dark. So what we want is a color correct and make the gamma way brighter. Let me focus on this. Make the gamma maybe 5, and then saturation, I want it to be more saturated, so 1.2. And let's turn down the roughness a bit, or actually I will just use this roughness, and maybe we can have a thin wall. So right now all these geometries are like solid glass balls, which if you like, you can just stop right there. But if you want them to be kind of a bubble, so you can have the thin wall option activated. Now it looks more like a bubbled hollow sphere. So what it's gonna look like is this, which I think might be better, and maybe just a touch of bright color, and then saturation, add it a bit. And now you can make the animation of switching or blending between the two materials. So here's how you can do it. Go to material, blender, and put it in, and then say the other one is layer 1, and then for the blend color I actually want just a value. So a value controlling the blend color. It should be, let's desolo this, and you can see if I have a 0, then it's gonna be the apple shader. If I have a 1 in the value, it's gonna be the bubble one. So now what you can do is when it's glowing up, just hit 0 before, and then say maybe at 90 or actually 120. No, that's way too late. So maybe at this point of time, maybe at 100, frame 100, make it totally glowing ball, floating balls. So here, now we can save the project. Remember to save, and let's look at it. Let's scrub through. It's falling, falling, and falling, and it's starting to get bigger and bigger, and it turns into bubbles and fly away. That's it. So if you are not happy with the composition, which I am not, oops, I'm just gonna zoom in a bit, see the animation. And of course, if you're not happy with the color, you can always go back to the random effector and field to change it, or you can simply go to the random field and go to your seed and change the color. But remember, it's gonna mess up the position too, and you probably want to resim it and recache it. I'm just gonna hit Ctrl Z a bunch of time, and that is it. You can render it out, and that's it. Thanks for watching. If you want to have a look at the project file, which is this one, I'm gonna share it. I spend more time on it to tweak the animation and also the color, and you can see the apple shader. It's the same thing, only different kind of blending of color than the whole scene. That's it. And I'll just show you what it looks like. It's pretty much the same. So if you go to the first frame, only the composition might be a little bit different. And then it's falling, 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 boom, and glowing it up and start to float. And that's it. So if you want the project file that I'm showing, I'm gonna put it on my Gumroad store. You can get it there. And I hope this has been educational and it helped you to get a better understanding of the soft body dynamics. And yeah, this is it for today. If you want to learn more, please comment down below, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.